Hi, this is Cass and Mary Jane from Freedom FFS, Freedom Financial Solutions. It is the 1st of October, so a pinch and a punch for the first day of the month. Although it is past midday, it's 12:30 on Wednesday in 2025, so I guess I'm too late. This is our free open group Q&A for anyone who wants to ask a question about anything really, and as I was saying earlier, we will answer what we can or what we feel so inclined to answer. Cass is actually overseas in Bali at the moment. She and I just went there for some intense training. It was probably some of the hardest training I've ever done, in a beautiful environment. But I don't think I enjoyed it enough. I think we have to go back. But Cass is still there, and your vision's just gone off, but you can still hear us, Cass, can't you?
Yes, I can.
Right. How's it going?
Yeah, good. It's our last day. I'm flying out at 11:45 tonight, so I'm really not looking forward to the rest of the day and sitting around in the airport and then flying overnight. But anyway, I'll be home tomorrow.
Oh, right. Okay. All right. Well, oh, it was, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? It's like I really wanted to go to Bali, but then the training was so intense.
Yeah.
It was great. Anyway, we've got Kat, Kath, Leanne, and Bronte. And we know that a lot of people just jump on to hear what other people are chatting about. Um, if you've got a question, you just start talking, or if there's someone talking, you can put your hand up. And if you can't talk for whatever reason, just put a message in the chat box. And Kat, I don't know if you can still hear us, but we could hear you and some gentleman having a big chat, but you didn't seem to be able to hear us, so that's why I've muted you. Any questions? Well, anyway, did anybody go or see any of the Australia Unites rally that we were involved in? It was the 13th of September, so it's quite some time ago now. But that was a massive thing that Cass and I did just before we went away on training. So I haven't really
Mm.
stopped since then. But it was quite a turnout, I've got to say. And if you haven't seen anything, there you go. If you haven't seen anything, I'll just share with you where you can catch up. So on our website here, there's still a link here. If you missed it, you can go to this little event here. You can see a little summary. This was in Sydney. We were in Sydney. This is me looking very happy at the beginning of the day when the stage arrived. And then later on, you'll see I'm looking quite exhausted. But anyway, this is the rally. We had a massive. So this particular video goes for 8 minutes, and it shows probably 80% of the people that were there, all walking all walking through Sydney. So that was amazing turnout, given that it was only announced 2 weeks before that. Cass did a great speech that got a lot of good reception, and I spoke for 3 minutes just as people were coming in. There we go. There's mine. There's Cass's. We even got on the mainstream news. And even in not, I know, right? And it was even not in a bad way. So this is, I think,
Hello.
we go, whee!
Wow, Channel 7. Looks so weird.
So, so I just want to clarify that that was Michael Sims there speaking. That actually was not, that little snippet wasn't on Channel 7, unfortunately. This clip he put together and worked that bit in, which I thought was pretty brilliant, unfortunately. But you can see what the news says. The police are here in case it spirals out of control. Well, actually, no, the police weren't there in case it spirals out of control. They were there to make sure that we didn't accidentally run into any traffic or traffic run into us. And the numbers of police were offered by the police. We didn't, it was very peaceful, very calm, and it was, considering all the carry on, it was a great day. And that is my official retirement from doing any rallies. I do have a handbook on. Oh, sorry. I do have a handbook in case anyone wants to run their own rally. I can send it to you so you know all the things you have to do. Right, now, are there any questions? Veronica, you've joined us. This is just free open questions. No? Cass, what's on your mind at the moment?
Just getting through today and getting back home, really.
Okay. Any
As
exciting?
as Mary Jane just said, we did some very intense training over here, so we're both a little bit, with everything that's been going on. The rally sort of popped up out of the blue. It was sort of like, how much lead time? We had like 2 weeks notice, and then we're off to Bali literally about a week later, and then now we're coming back from Bali. So just be good. Oh, I was going to say come back and settle down and get back into a routine, but we're off to Fiji for a very technical estate planning conference I think I'm only back in Australia 8 days before we go again. So there we go.
Yeah, so estate planning, which is really interesting, because just even today, I've had a couple of similar, yesterday and today since I've been back, a couple of similar situations where, I mean, how many people in Australia these days are on their second or third relationship, and they've got adult children from one primary relationship, and they're thinking about, well, I want to make sure that my bloodline gifted, my wealth that I've created, my new partner, to a certain extent. But then not all family blends are harmonious, and then the litigators can get involved, and then once the litigators get involved, who wins? The litigators wins, and everybody loses. So had a couple of inquiries, so how do you protect the family home and make sure that maybe your new partner can live there ongoing until they pass, but then after that your portion at least is passed to your kids, and so on and so on. So that's something that we're doing more and more of in FFS. And the law changes all the time as well, and different states are different. So New South Wales spouses, ex-spouses have more rights than they do in other states, and so on. So we're going to do a week's more intensive training, and then I'll be ready for Christmas, I think. But on that note, I just wanted to point out that Freedom FFS, our company here with the setups and the estate planning, we are not for profit. So all of the profits, any profit, anything that's left over after we do the work, because we haven't raised our fees for many, many years. So anything, whereas everyone else has raised the fees, ASIC is terrible. But anyway, any of the money that's left over, we contribute back into the community. So in fact, this $15,000 worth of stage and sound that was sponsored in the Sydney rally, at least a third, if not a half of it, was sponsored by FFS. And that's why you might see the logo everywhere. I mean, it's just, that was the deal. But the good news is that if it hadn't been for that, you might end up just with a megaphone or some rubbishy little speakers and you can't hear anything. So that's why we do what we do. We spend our own money going out into the communities here and there. I was talking to someone who heard something we were talking about in Toowoomba a few months ago, or 6 months ago. We've been around Queensland, around Victoria. Haven't been a lot around New South Wales. So if you've got any communities in New South Wales that you'd like us to come and visit, but we spend our own money on travel, and if we have to stay there a night, then we'll spend it on that, everything, because our remit, like what it is that we want to do, is to help everyone empower themselves to take direct control of their lives, in particular their financial wealth. So thank you for sponsoring that.
So does no one have any questions today? We'll have a nice short one.
You just like, well, and this is the thing. I mean, people often just like jumping on because to feel part of a little community. And so we don't do these live. Maybe we should look into doing these live so that people can sort of pop on. It is designed, though, that if you have specific financial questions, you can. But going forward, Cass and I, possibly next year at this stage, we'll look into doing more of the sort of live podcast styles where you can just sort of jump on. So do you know where you're on a Facebook Live or an Instagram Live where it might flash up on your screen if you've signed up, so that you don't have to think about, oh, I've got to book that in, and there it is. It'll flash up if you're on your phone, and then you can just jump on the live and listen to what people are talking about, and maybe ask a question. It's a different feel. It's not a technical Q&A like this one. It's more of a just a chat fest. But then we'll have to have topics, hot topics. So hot topics. Oh, Kat has got a question. I knew if we spoke
Yes.
enough, someone would find a question.
I guess, yeah. I wasn't necessarily ready to ask, but I'll ask something since it's a bit quiet. Just generally seeing, gold and silver's skyrocketing, which is fantastic. I'm sure everyone's very happy about that. And Bitcoin's doing pretty well too. Yeah, I guess looking to get advice, obviously not someone to tell me what to do and what to buy and when to sell and when to buy, but making my own, getting advice on how to create my own targets on like, oh, okay, at this point, I want to take some of my profits and make that plan for myself so that I don't sit up here in the run up and go, oh, isn't this great? And then what's happened in the past, there's a big crash and like, oh, I wish I'd sold, and just having those targets of like, okay, I'm going to sell 20% when it gets to this point. And it's going to be different for everyone because everyone has a different entry point. Everyone has a different capacity, and then there's the super, then there's the personal stuff. And so is there anyone in FFS who can assist with helping me create my own plan? I know that, like I said, it's not someone who's going to tell me what to do. I totally get that, but give me some more, because it's easy to buy. They say it's easy to buy, it's not so easy to sell. I don't want to get stuck in that trap.
Yeah, okay. So I can comment on that a bit generally. There's actually no one that can plan on that issue because it's not gold and silver is not a licensed product where any sort of financial planner is authorized to advise on it. Even Ainsley Bullion, who I consider are the experts, they also can't write such a plan. But we can sort of have a general discussion about my thoughts on it. So, and it will differ depending on different people. So, for example, if it's in an SMSF and you're nearing 60, we would always suggest you wait, if possible, till you're after 60 because that's when the gain will all be tax-free. If you're under 60 and you don't want to wait that long, well, then that's fine. I always say you shouldn't buy and sell or do anything specifically just for tax. The tax in an SMSF, it's only 10% on capital gains anyway, so it's not a huge burden if you need to sell earlier. But in terms of when to sell, the only sort of guidance that I have seen coming out of Ainsley Bullion and other experts that talk about this is that gold is a long-term hold. You simply buy it and you hold it for as long as you need to hold it. You would sell it when you need to sell it. Say, for example, you want to buy a new car or something goes wrong in your life and you need to sell it. Otherwise, you just hold. It's a hold forevermore type asset. Silver, on the other hand, is one that they more consider that you trade it, but not often. It is a buy and hold for the long term. What they say is that gold and silver generally follow a very similar trajectory upwards, but silver has been lagging behind for many, many years. The gold and silver ratio is way out of whack. I believe silver is catching up, but it's still way out of whack. When the gold and silver ratio get back into the historic standards, then it would be time to consider selling the silver and reinvesting back into gold for the long term. When that will happen is anybody's guess. And all we can say is to keep an eye on our newsletters and our communications. We can't advise anybody when to sell, but you would certainly see a difference in our messaging if we start to throw out there things like, oh, have you considered selling silver with the new gold to silver ratio? So yeah, keep an eye on our communications and podcasts like this. But and all the other thing we can do is also to give our personal opinion. And for me, yeah, I'm just holding on to both gold and silver for now. I do plan to sell some of my silver at some stage, but not yet.
So,
Another way to, yeah,
just in
sorry.
terms of numbers, this is a good thing. So gold and silver ratio, there was the number of 100 it hit some months ago now. So that means for every 1 ounce of gold, you needed 100 of silver to buy the 1 ounce. It's actually dropped down. I think today I had a quick look and it was 81 to 1. So it's moved. Now I have heard the likes of Ainsley talking about once it hits, say, 70, maybe some people will start selling a little bit, and definitely once it hits 50, people will be flooding it with like sell, sell, sell. And what they're doing is they're not just selling silver, they're selling silver to buy the gold.
Yeah.
Because that means instead of 100 ounces to 1 buying the silver gold, you only need half of that, 50 ounces of silver to buy 1 ounce of gold. And if you can do a direct trade, I think through Ainsley, they can facilitate that. I think the natural ratio, sometimes they say it's between 15 to 20, but historic lows are around the 30. So that's a number just to keep your eye out for. And, you know, if we post something that's saying, you know, gold to silver ratio is 81, which we might do this week, whether you sell or not, that's up to you.
Yep. The other thing I could add to that is that, and once again, it's just my personal opinion, but if you do want numbers to work with, I used to always work on a ratio of 70% of my holdings in gold, 30% in silver. Because of the historic low on silver at the moment, I am actually more at 50-50. So 50% gold, 50% silver. So what that means is when it comes time that the gold to silver ratio has come back into line, I might, so if I'm currently at 50-50 gold, silver, I might sell some silver, buy gold so that I go back to the 70-30 ratio. And yeah, if you want help with like those numbers, I mean, we could definitely put together a plan like that. That says this is how much you've got, this is what you're going to do when those ratios hit that target. If that would help, that's something we could definitely do. As long as it's just not considered advice, it's just considered us brainstorming some numbers for you.
And
Yeah, that's exactly it. So it's kind of like, so I think of like, perhaps, so some of the things I've held for, say, a long time, and they've made a really massive gain. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to get to a position where I have to sell, like, say, $300,000 worth of something in one go. So someone to help me with the numbers and go, you know what? Sell like 20,000 now and look at my income and look at my taxes and da 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 da. So it's again, yeah, I totally don't want. I understand it's not someone telling me when to sell, but just going like, this is what I've done. Here's my history. I'm really interested in like maybe taking some profit, even just getting the capital back and da da da, and just helping me like, all right, I want to sell 20% here because I might be looking at buying, and I'm in my 40s, so I'm not at the point of like yeah, thinking of the retirement, but buying property, for example. And it's like, okay, well, if I want to buy a property and I have to sell a hell of a lot of assets to do that, it's going to be a massive capital gains tax. And it's like I want to sort of slowly do that in a clever way, in a low income year. It's a good time to sell, things like that. So someone to just help me, even if it's the spreadsheet, figuring that out for me in my case, and definitely not someone to give me advice financially. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's something definitely we can just do just on an hourly rate consultation fee. And that's probably the only, when you're considering selling, yes, we definitely have a look at the capital gains tax implications. I always say whenever you're going to sell something of value, like not if you're selling $5,000 worth or something, but if you're selling a large amount, I always say to consult an accountant about capital gains before you sell, rather than after, because there's so much more planning we can do beforehand. And sometimes it might be just a matter of, yeah, okay, well, let's wait till next financial year when your tax might be lower, or let's, okay, do it this financial year, but do a catch-up concessional contribution into super. So yeah, they're definitely, so yeah, if you wanted to, that would be me that you would book that time with. You just book it in through the calendar system on the website, and then we can have a chat about that.
Yeah, I'm just going to put the link here. And so the link's in there, and you just book in, I think it's called Trusts, Business Setup and Advanced Tax is how you book in with Cass.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, actually, if no one else has a question, just a quick one.
Sure.
Instead of selling said asset, say it was gold, am I able to borrow against gold? Is that something that you can do in Australia? Borrow against
No.
the asset? No.
No.
Okay,
No.
got it. But shares you can, all right?
Shares you can with a very complicated, I don't know what it's called anymore. They don't like doing it as much after the GFC. But there's probably still some organisations that would offer that. What's it called? Margin lending? Yeah, margin lending. I haven't heard of it in a very long time, but I think there would still be people that would do it. Hello.
Right. Yes. No, I can hear you.
Okay.
Cat is giving the thumbs up. So anybody else got any questions? Adele, you've jumped on. David, Veronica. It's a good little group here. I know just people are clearly just wanting to hang out. So Cass, with the gold silver ratio at 80 now, have you got a number in mind for yourself to sell any?
No, I haven't. I've lost track of what the historic. I'll go back to Ainsley and ask that. I mean, Ainsley. So Mary Jane and I, we're not gold and silver experts. We just learn everything that we learn off Ainsley Bullion in particular, and then Jim Rickards is our US advisor, which we love following. But yeah, I'll have to refresh my memory on that, find out what that standard gold to silver ratio is with Ainsley. But I know we're nowhere near it yet. That's probably why it slipped my mind. Silver seems to be shooting up quite well. We're getting great gains in the gold and silver. So yeah, we have a lot of very, very, very happy clients in that market. Bitcoin, on the other hand, I think people have probably heard me say, put what you can't afford to lose into gold and silver and what you can afford to lose into Bitcoin. Once again, we can't recommend it. We're not advisors. But I personally I put 5% of my net wealth into Bitcoin because that's the amount that I think whole system crashes and everything disappears. Yeah, I can live with that. On the other hand, I've got a fear of missing out. So 5%, if it does what some people say it's going to do and go to the moon and back, then that'll be great to have 5% in it. If you are going to do it, Bitcoin, and you don't know how, or crypto and you don't know how, I just strongly suggest you use Ainsley Bullion. That's all I've done. I know nothing about crypto. I don't want to know anything about crypto. But I've just given 5% of my net wealth to Ainsley Bullion and said, you guys invest this for me. And I know where it is and I don't have to worry about all those safe codes and all that thing. I just know that I can contact Ainsley anytime I want and get my crypto back if I need it. So yeah, there's that. So
Because most of the stories you hear from Ainsley when you go and we do the seminars together, and Chris Tipper, who's one of their great experts in Bitcoin and or crypto, and he always says everybody in Australia should put at least $50 into Bitcoin, just $50, because the exponential growth could be astounding, just $50. But anyway, he's famous for buying 200 Bitcoins when they were at 1 cent each and selling them when he'd made the massive gain and they were all $1 each. So he doesn't have any he's got Bitcoin again now, but not the 200 he had back in the day. But normally his stories are around the someone had bought a couple of Bitcoin and couldn't find the little thing that it was on or the numbers, and so essentially lost it. But they did say at the last event, I think it was, we were up in, Jimboomba, was it? And he said there was an amazing story where a woman came into Ainsley and said 15 years ago she was a massage therapist, and somebody had come in and paid her with a Bitcoin on a little thing, probably a USB drive. I don't know what it was. It was a thing, or maybe it was a card with numbers on it. Paid her for the massage on it, and she just sort of put it somewhere in her junk drawer and forgot about it. But her son remembered. So her son, 15 years later, said, Mum, where is it? Where is it? Let's go find it. They found it. They took it into Ainsley, and she bought $1.5 million. She was just coming in to buy a house, cash it out and buy a house with it. So they said that's the only good news story. Most of the stories go the other way.
yeah, so be very, very careful with Bitcoin if you don't know what you're doing, and just do it with someone you trust, which I would suggest Ainsley. They've been around over 50 years. So yeah, don't get caught up in any of those scams that are online.
Yeah, there have been, unfortunately. And the rule of thumb, Cass, is if it sounds too good to be true, if something's guaranteeing you a return of what, guaranteed return of this percent, it generally is too good to be true. Unfortunately, we have seen some clients, unfortunately, suffering from such, well, I guess there's no other word than scam.
Yeah.
So, yeah, rule of thumb, if it sounds too good to be true, ask someone else. Do you think this is too good to be true? Yes.
Absolutely. But other than that, I don't know what else is happening of interest other than the world didn't end again yesterday. We had yet another suspected date of the 30th of September, which I'm over in Bali and thinking, oh, well, if the world collapses, I guess being stuck here is not such a bad thing. But came and went. There's not even anything on the news. This was about the US debt ceiling again and US government shutdown, which we know if the US government shuts down, well, the whole world's going to be in a bit of an uproar. But they didn't even, it's normally so they have the debt ceiling and every time the US government hits the debt ceiling, it's a big panic because US government shuts down if it runs out of money. But I've been following this for years now, and every time all they do is they increase their debt ceiling. And I tried to explain this to my daughter yesterday that imagine you're a family and you've got your budgets and your income and everything, and you get to the point where you absolutely know that no matter what happens, you cannot pay your debt. You do not have the income to even pay the interest on your debt. It's called bankrupt. And if you're a family, you would file for bankruptcy. But all the US debt ceiling does is they go, as a family, you just go, oh no, well, let's just borrow more and borrow more and borrow more and borrow more, which is fine if the bank's going to lend you more. But that's all that happens is the US just go, okay, well, don't worry about that debt ceiling. Let's just increase it. I think I last heard it's 37 trillion. So it's just going up and up and up and up and up. There's no end in sight. So
we have a question, Adele.
Me too.
Yeah, I have a question regarding if you're audited by the ATO, do they go back and look at your history in bank accounts that are now closed?
Okay, Adele, so that's a good question. I used to be an ATO auditor. I was for many, many years. Don't hold that against me. I saw the light and joined the other side. Yes, back in the day, we used to do things like that. We used to go through everybody's bank accounts, and we had the authority to use a warrant pass that we could go into the banks and check past accounts. In reality, with the ATO now, they do not have the resources. I have not seen an audit where they do something like that. I've not seen that in the 30 years since I left the tax department. If you were a high-profile multi-millionaire and you've hidden millions and millions of dollars in taxes in places, yes, they might put in the effort to do something like that. Just for the average person, I haven't seen it in 30 years. So the answer to your question is a bit of a double edge. Yes, that they can do that. They have the ability to do that. But in practice, I don't see it happen anymore.
Okay, thank you.
And if you were a multi-million-dollar millionaire who'd done the wrong thing, you would have probably paid the right people, so they wouldn't be coming after you.
Yep.
They'll be coming.
Or you'd be living somewhere like Bali where they can't find you.
Yeah, they'll be coming after the normal people that say something wrong. Bronte, yes, over to you.
Mine's just something I've been thinking about is, Cass, you talk about not keeping money in the bank, cash in the bank, and putting your money in bullion. It's painful for me because I bought gold back in 2011, and it's risen so much, so it's so expensive. So how do I live with that? I mean, how does anybody live with that? Buying it now, because I know it's suggested that it's going to keep going up, but how do we know?
We don't know. We don't know. Nothing is guaranteed. But as I said earlier, I follow Jim Rickards in the US for most of my expertise on this issue, and yeah, he was always predicting 15,000 US an ounce. I think he predicted even more at that seminar we were at, didn't he, Mary Jane? What did he predict?
He said it could, for example, if all these things happened, it could go to 100,000. And he said, but don't run out there and say Jim Rickard said this.
Yeah. So, but he has consistently said 15,000 US an ounce for the last probably 10 years. He's said that is the actual real price of gold that it will eventually get to, or should eventually get to. So I'm still of the opinion, when people ask me, when should you buy gold? I say, whenever you've got spare money in your bank. And I'm still buying it now. And people probably asked that same question a year ago, and I would have said the same thing. If they had sat back then and went, oh, no, it's way too expensive a year ago, they just missed out on a 50% gain. Yeah, so no, I'm still buying it. As this world continues down the path it's on at the moment, gold and silver just still, to me, seem the only logical, safe asset out there.
I mean, gold does go up and down over little price points, and especially like I used to look at it when it was 70. I was look at kilos, but 70,000 a kilo, and it would go up and down, but it'd be over the 70,000. Then it sort of went up over the 80, and once it went over certain price points, it doesn't seem to drop back below like an 80 or a 90. There was about a year or so where it was really stagnant, around between the sort of 90 to 95. I actually lost a little bit of money then, just because I had to, and this goes back to the earlier question, when do you sell it? Well, I had to sell it, or I chose to have to sell it, but I chose to have to lose a little bit on it because I needed to liquidate it for something else. But on average, it has a very general trend upwards like that. And if 2,000 years, I mean, I think the key takeaway is that it hedges against inflation. You can still buy today what you could 2,000 years ago with the same 1 ounce cast bar. The example they always use is a suit. Like, back in Roman times, you could buy yourself a very nice toga, and now for $3,000 or for $5,000, it's $5,000, you can buy yourself a very nice suit. So it's sort of maintaining its value where everything else is falling away. Silver has a different thing. So gold is sort of like that. Silver is cup and handle, cup and handle. So it 2012 it was up here, then it went right down, it's back up, then it does a little loop, and so on and so on. So it's got a very different pattern when you look at it. But Ainsley, again, we're not the experts. I just happen to spend a lot of time with Ainsley. Ainsley is the best place. They have a fantastic website full of news and resources. They do, sometimes it gets a bit technical, but they have a whole spectrum of information for dummies like myself. The Bullion and Banter they do once every 3 months. Online on an evening, 7 o'clock. We always jump on it as well. So we did it, I think, last week or the week before. Bullion and Banter is a great entry-level one, and then every day or every week they do these other more technical things. But you find the more you get into it, the more comfortable you are with some of the concepts and terminology. Ainsley Bullion website is really good place to go on. Anybody else got a question? If not, no worries. We do have another one of these coming up on the 22nd of October, Wednesday lunchtime. Oh, David's got a question.
Just wanting to know if there's any like gold-backed banking that you can do, where you can actually, instead of putting your money into a bank, you put it into or a type of bank that's gold-backed.
Yeah, so Mary Jane, have Ainsley launched their gold
Yes,
gold
the
saver?
Ainsley Saver, yeah.
Okay.
So do you want me to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah.
So the Ainsley last year or 6 months ago launched what's called the Ainsley Saver. So it's a product that's designed to enable, especially young people that don't necessarily have a lot of money straight up, but they want to do regular savings for their future. So you can put as little as, say, $20, $50 into the Ainsley Saver weekly, and it's cost average. What's the word they use? It's so basically you're putting in a regular amount of money, and it's cost average. What's the terminology? Anyway, you can read it on their website. But the aim is that, it might be up and down over that period, but on average, the cost is going to work out, and you're building and building and building. Now, it's only available for individuals at the moment, not for entities. So I was looking at that as an idea for my SMFF, just sort of set and forget every week. or every month you can set it up to put in a regular amount so that it's building. They do have a plan to make it available for entities at the moment, but it's great for, I've set my kids up with one. Just it's instead of it like a term deposit or a high interest rate banking deposit facility. When you want to sell it, they do have certain conditions around, and I can't remember exactly what they are, but if you need to get that money out because you want to go and buy a car or put a deposit on a house, like anything, there'll be like a sale amount, a limit. I think it might be, I can't remember the details. Have a look. There's certain conditions on how to cash it out, whether it's a fee to cash it out or whether it's amount you need to cash it out. It's just designed because they have to pay for their administration. So if you get someone putting in $50 one week and then taking it out the next week, that's costing a lot of money in administration. So it's just to cover their cost. It's the equivalent of the unallocated bullion, where the minimum buy-in is $5,000. So you have to have $5,000 to buy unallocated bullion. And then when you want to buy it out, there's certain conditions around that. It's an equivalent product, but a smaller buy-in. But it's very cost effective. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like a bank account, though, that you can actually withdraw money to make purchases.
No,
I'm
not that.
sort of wanting to know if there's something that you can, like, or an account that you can actually put your money into, knowing that it's gold back, and actually using that for your everyday spending.
Not that we're aware of, David. I have seen one or two that have been promoted, but they didn't turn out to be legitimate. So, not that we're aware of.
Okay, and also with another question with super, do you consolidate, like, as part of the, like, going through yourselves, do you consolidate all the supers accounts that, like, I have, for example, and then put it into a self-managed fund? So if I've got super with more than one company?
Yes. So if you have 2 or 3, big super accounts, if that's what you're talking about, let's say you've got CBUS and Australian Super and Host Plus. When we do a self-managed super fund setup for you, we set everything up, legal paperwork, register it, bank account open. Then we request the rollovers from each of those 3 in different accounts, and then bring them across. So we do that for you. If people have a lot of them, I would recommend consolidating them in advance. The main reason is that some of them are quicker than others, and if you come to us, I can tell you which ones are going to be quicker than others, and you can quite easily consolidate them through your ATO portal if you can do that online, and that doesn't seem to take too much time. When it's big super to big super, they seem to be quite cooperative and transfer straight away. When it's big super to self-managed super fund, some of them can take quite a long time, even if we're on the phone to them week after week. In that case, I can look at the 3 you've got and say, well, choose this one, consolidate behind the scenes into one, and then that one rollover will be faster than if we're doing 3 separate ones. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
Excellent. A little bit earlier, I was talking about the US debt ceiling issue, and I just was wondering why we hadn't heard anything about it on the news. And I just double checked on wonderful ChatGPT, and it is going to be 2:00 today Australian time that the whole thing will come down one way or the other. So in 45 minutes, hold your breath for 45 minutes, and let's see what happens.
Oh, bless. Well, just keep those fear levels down or excitement levels down. It's a bit of a
I was just reading it and thinking 2:00, is that in the middle of the night when I'm actually on the plane flying from Bali to Australia? But no, it's 2:00 in 45 minutes. So as I said, it's a big hoo-ha over nothing. No doubt they'll just increase the debt ceiling.
Yeah, can I do that with?
Yeah, let's all just do that. You know, borrow as much as you want, and every time you run out of money, just increase your borrowing and know that you never ever have to pay it back.
I know, right? Oh gosh, that's a crazy old world.
Yes.
All right. Well, if there's no other questions, we won't just ramble on. I know some people like us rambling on, and maybe we'll set up something sometime soon where we do just ramble on.
Yep.
And if anyone's got particular topics that you want us to ramble on about, then just send them in, and we can certainly get onto that. But as I said, as Cass said earlier, I think it's in about a week and a half's time, we are both going offline again to Fiji to do some intense training. And then we will be back in later October, and then it'll be the rundown to the end of the year. I can't believe it. But it's
Yes,
been a
okay.
great year, a lot of good things happening, and we've been able to continue to help lots of fabulous men and women who are very happy. And the best thing is, look, even though gold has gone up, you know, it doesn't seem to be coming down anytime soon. I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't promise that. But the 2,000 plus years has certainly shown in the statistics that we've got that it's certainly held against the cost of living. So. All right.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.